Friday episode of the Just Baseball Show has Mr. Walker Buehler on, the Red Sox right-handed pitcher. It's so weird, like IDing Walker Buehler is that. But you know what? In case you're listening to this show for the first time and don't know who Walker Buehler is, we're talking to him. We're also going to talk about a unique moment in San Diego and how that compares to a unique moment in Los Angeles. Pete Crow-Armstrong is amazing, and the Rangers are amazing and bad at the same time. It's the Just Baseball
Yeah.
Show. Who we brought to you by?
BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JustBaseball. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Yes, we have a statistic about the Rangers that is both amazing and bad at the same time, so I'm glad you prefaced it with that.
Yeah, like because hey, half the team has been awesome, and then the
Yeah,
other half has not been awesome.
and it's the side that you would never expect to be awesome. It's just a weird couple
Like
of
they
months for
they
the
won the
Rangers.
World Series with the other side being
Yeah,
awesome, and now that same side is terrible.
yeah, that it's like, well, will they bounce back? But some of the key cogs, I mean, we'll discuss it, but it's a very interesting stat that we came across.
I think we should just start with that, right?
Yeah, why
Like
not?
considering we've teased it so much, we might as well just start with that. Give us the number on the Texas Rangers, Peter.
So this comes to us from Michael Byer, Bieer on Twitter.
Sure.
Rangers starting pitchers have allowed 3 runs or less in 19 consecutive games. That's a franchise record. The starting pitching has been outrageous for the Rangers. The team is 9-10 in those games. So, your first instinct, wow, the Rangers starting pitching has been good. Tyler Mahle, another great start, lowered his ERA to 1.64. Jacob DeGrom is fully Jacob DeGrom, and Nathan Eovaldi has an ERA under 0.70 in the month of May. It's an outrageous rotation. But the reason they are 9-10 is because the offense. Now, Corey Seager did return, and I know we kind of brushed on the Rangers yesterday in a larger conversation about the American League West. But when I watch Rangers baseball, I'm so disappointed, and it really falls on the backs of Marcus Semien. 42 WRC plus, Jack?
Sure.
42? Adolis Garcia, 74? I mean, you can't be led by Josh Smith and Sam Haggerty. And now I know Wyatt Langford is good, 118 WRC plus, but he hasn't blossomed into the MVP candidate yet, which is
Langford's hits
fine.
and
He's still young.
bombs. Like
He's
I,
still
I
really good.
appreciate what Langford's doing right now. I will say
Yeah.
he is so far away from being the crux of the issue.
No, yeah, he's not the issue. I'm just saying, what were the reasons we thought that the Rangers could potentially win this division, right? It was Wyatt Langford taking that MVP step.
It was Semyon not sucking.
It was Semien not being one of the worst position players in baseball. Jackie hits ninth.
That's bizarre.
Adolis hits eighth.
$175 million man. Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like I can't believe what I'm watching. And then
I
on the
know.
other side, I can't believe what I'm watching from the rotation.
I
I mean,
know.
Baldy doesn't miss. Mahle, just every single start is 5 or 6 innings with 1 run ball. And DeGrom is still DeGrom, even though his last start he didn't have a strikeout, which is weird, but that doesn't matter. It's just a weird blip in the road. And then the bullpen is terrible, right? So it's like
Sure.
the starters lock it down. The bullpen or the offense can't hit anything. And if the offense doesn't come to play, then the bullpen blows their tiny lead.
Yeah.
It's a weird ass team that I can't
And,
figure
and
out.
and might as well shout out Leiter and Corbin while you're at it too.
Yeah,
Like Jack Leiter and
Corbin.
Pat Corbin.
Yeah,
Dude, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to do a dramatic reading of the bottom five in baseball in May OPS.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Checking in at number 26 in all of Major League Baseball in team OPS, the Chicago White Sox at 666. Coincidence? I
I
think
think
not.
not.
At number 27, your Colorado Rockies at 645. At number 28, the Pittsburgh Pirates at 639. The second worst team OPS in baseball in the month of May belongs to the Milwaukee Brewers at 617. And your worst OPS in all of baseball among teams in the month of May, the Texas Rangers 16 points worse than anyone else at 601. 26 May games. And the Texas Rangers, who won the World Series 2 years ago because of what they could do offensively, have a 601 team OPS in the month of May. Actually unbelievable.
It's so funny. I was going to go over some players who are also sitting around that OPS this season. It's all a lot of good players. Luis Robert has a 583 OPS. Matt McLean 584, Michael Harris 586, Michael Conforto 599, Ernie Clement 601, Salvador Perez 608. Aram was just saying that
Think about that. The entire team is Ernie Clement.
well, think about how good the Tigers are for a second. Aram, we were talking about how good the Tigers have been, and they're probably Achilles' heel right now, even though they've been a great team, and it's not really fair to him. He's just amongst a lot of really good players, is Trey Sweeney. Trey Sweeney's got a 615 OPS. So the bottom barrel guy on the Tigers, the guy potentially that could lose his spot once Parker Meadows comes back, maybe Javi Baez moves back to short, has a better OPS than the entire Rangers do in the month of May.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. But
Not great.
at the same time, where are you at though? Because can't you imagine the Rangers offense heating up with the pitching and then them take it
Of course.
all the way? So
Of course.
I'm pro Mariners, right? Aram yesterday was really hyping up the Astros, and both of us really understand, obviously you do too, that they're a great team. But where are you at on the Rangers? Like, do you think they're going to finish third this season? Maybe even worse?
I'm nowhere
Or do you think
close. I'm nowhere close to packing it in on Texas.
talk to me
Nowhere
about it.
close.
Talk to me about it. Why?
I like this rotation a lot, and I liked it a
Yeah.
lot going into the year. And there are some different faces in it. Like I did not expect Pat Corbin and Tyler Mahle to be awesome, but I knew that Eovaldi is Eovaldi, and this guy like refuses to acknowledge the existence of Father Time.
Mhm.
Jacob DeGrom looks like DeGrom right now, and I just needed him to look like 65% of DeGrom because 65% of DeGrom is still a top 20 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Is that
That's
crazy?
all I wanted from him, and he looks like he's 82% of Jacob DeGrom right now.
Is that crazy how good he is?
It's nuts. So,
Yeah.
like, I was looking at Eovaldi, DeGrom, and then the young tandem of Leiter and Rocker. Okay? Obviously, that hasn't worked on the Rocker front, but it's working on the Leiter front. And then Corbin and Mahle out of nowhere, like we're playing with house money right now in the rotation. And I think that they're going to do good things to bolster that bullpen. I read the report. I'm sure you saw it. They're considering Kumar Rocker for a closer role when he's back.
Which kind of fires me up.
It fires me up
I mean,
too.
so two things on that one. Like, it fires me up. I would love to see Kumar just full octane in the ninth, see what that looks like. But I want to keep trying him as the starter, though. Like, I'm not quitting that because you and I are huge Kumar fans. I can't quit it.
Uh,
So it fires me up, but at the same
and
time, I don't want you to hinder his development as a starter.
and 3 days ago, Chris Young, the president of baseball operations, said, "No, we are not considering Kumar Rocker for the closer role."
Okay, good. Okay, good. I think that's
But
ultimately
here's
the
the
right
thing: he
decision.
might just say that, and then all of a sudden he's in there in the ninth inning, and it's like, okay, cool. So I don't know what anything means anymore, if we're being honest. So only time will tell, but I think that they have some options that they can have to bolster that bullpen, whether it's internal or external. For me, it's like it's kind of easy to see this lineup clicking when you're waiting on guys like Adolis Garcia, who we've seen it before. We haven't seen it over the last year and a half, but we've seen it before. Semien, we haven't seen it over the last year and a half, but we've seen it before. And then like other guys leveling up, Langford can absolutely be better than his 118 WRC plus. So I, there are too many things that I can just see internally clicking, literally tomorrow, that prevent me from being out on the Texas Rangers.
That's more than fair. I have a question for you too. Let's say, right, because right now there are a few games under 500, if I'm correct on that, or at least they're around
I
500.
love that you have all these advanced metrics and then you don't have the standings.
I know.
Like, what's their record?
I know. How many wins they got? I
Yeah,
know
how
they're.
many
I know
wins do
they're
they have? The Texas Rangers are 3 games under. They've
3 games
dropped eight of
under.
10.
So I was right. Let's say they're 500 by the deadline. 500. Are they buying or selling?
They're trading for Ryan Helsley. Actually, no, the Cardinals aren't moving Ryan Helsley.
Yeah,
They're
that's the thing.
trading.
Like, but regardless of Helsley, Rangers. Like, do you see them as buyers? Let's say The Mariners are still 10 games above 500. The Astros are 8 games above 500, and they sit there at 500. There's a couple of good teams in the American League East. The American League Central is going to produce at least 3 good teams, maybe 4. Do you think they want to go out there and buy? Or do you think they cash in on Malley? Maybe somebody would take Corbin.
I think
Like, do you think they'd cash in on
somebody
any of these
will
guys?
take Corbin at $1.1 million. Someone will absolutely take Corbin.
That's what I'm saying.
I I could see Malley being on the move. And 500 is like the literal worst place for them to be at the
I
deadline.
know. That's why I wanted to bring it up because if they're above 500, they're going for it. And if they're below 500, I don't think they are. So what about at 500?
They have such an easy line change of a bullpen if they're below 500, like Chris Martin, see ya, pal.
Yeah,
Hobie Milner, see ya, pal. Luke Jackson, see ya, pal. Sean Armstrong, see ya, pal.
right?
I, like it's tough because you just sell off all the rentals, and who knows what Martin's injury deal is. But 500's tough. I would err on the side of buying. Do you agree?
I don't know. That's kind of why I asked the question. Like
Nice.
I don't really have an opinion, and I think it's a tough one. We're actually going to call on how about Rangers fans? Let us know in the YouTube comments below, and we'll be sure to talk about it in the Discord as well.
Yeah, if you're at
Um,
500, because if you're above 500, you're
yeah,
buying. If you're below 500, you're selling off any rental pieces.
100%.
You're trimming the fat.
Even
If
if
you're
you
at
like,
500, what do
yes,
you do?
like even a game above, game below, like right there, and you see a path, but you at the end of the day you're 500. What are you going to do? Because I kind of think that's a likely scenario is that they
Yeah,
are right there instead of taking a huge jump or continuing to slide. Like to your
yeah,
point, I think some guys on offense, right? Corey Seager is back in the lineup. He's certainly going to help. And I don't see the pitching slowing down anytime soon. Maybe Corbin has another blow up, or so does Malley, but Eovaldi and DeGrom are just too damn good, and Leiter just gets better and better. So he's ascending. So that's why I think they're going to be around 500 at the deadline, which is another reason why I don't know what's going to happen with them.
right, right. So we'll see. I err on the side of buying if they're 500, but again, let us know if you disagree with us. Pete Crow-Armstrong is awesome. Your thoughts? PCA obviously pulled a ball that had no business getting out of the ballpark on Wednesday. Pete Crow-Armstrong is pacing for a 40-40 season as it stands right now while playing the best defense in Major League Baseball. This guy shut down conversations surrounding a $75-ish million contract extension, and that is looking like the best decision he could have ever made. We're watching a superstar blossom. Where are you? You pretty much just threw this to me, and you said PCA's sick. We got to talk about it. I agree.
So I posted on Twitter, we got to start having real conversations here.
Yeah, what are the real conversations? What were the conversations we weren't having?
So remember when he declined the $75 million offer? And we were like, oh, what if it was 100 or something like that? The real conversations that I want to start having is he deserving of like a Julio type deal? 12 for 210 with escalators. Those type of conversations. And I feel like that is now elevating him because of course we can have MVP talks, right? And it's clear because he's going to rack up F war with the best of them because he's an outrageously good defender in a premium position. He's got 15 homers, 16 steals already. And he's that home run that he hit last night was absurd. I mean, it was nearly hitting the ground. It looked like he hit it with a 9 iron and just golfed it out. Like a 23-year-old who's listed at 6 foot 185 should not have pop like that. And he's got the speed and he's got the defense to at least hold him up even when he goes through some valleys on offense. Because
Yeah,
we see the chase rates. He's not a perfect hitter. But at the end of the day, he's 23. So yeah, he's not perfect, but in his age 23 season, he might be a 30-40 guy with elite defense who's putting up a 7-win season. So when I'm talking real conversations here, what I mean is instead of talking about him in these conversations with, some of the best young players, he's
that's
just
where I
one
am.
of the best players.
So I am not ready to go there, and I'm
Okay,
going to use your own argument against you. Got to see
perfect.
him do it again.
That's okay. I,
That's
I
your
see that. And that's why I wanted to have real conversations.
MLB Network had a great segment 5, 6 days ago, and it was just simply posing the question: Pete Crow-Armstrong, James Wood in Washington, Corbin Carroll in Arizona. Which one are you taking for the next 10 years? I think 3 weeks ago, a month ago, Pete Crow-Armstrong was not in that clump. I don't even know if James Wood was in that clump. I think Carroll was way above everybody else. And now Carroll's been awesome this year. Carroll's been an MVP candidate. But Wood looks generational and Crow-Armstrong looks amazing. I think both of those guys have entered the Carroll conversation, and that made that a hell of a conversation on MLB Network. Again, like I think it was MLB Central that went with this like 6 days ago or a week ago. But it's been twisting and turning in my brain. And my answer is I don't know. I lean Carroll, but I also lean Wood some days, and then I fall back on PCA being the best defender in Major League Baseball. Like, that's such a hard one. Can I take all three?
No, but that's why I wanted to have real conversations. I love that MLB Network did that. Like, I want us to start comparing PCA to guys like that, not just like the
I think
Michael
we're
Harrises
there.
of the world.
I don't think we're there to like judge an Otani if that's what you're talking
No, no,
about.
I'm talking about let's PCA is in the James Wood, he is in the Corbin Carroll, like
Absolutely,
guys to
absolutely.
build around. Would you give him 12 for
And
220?
and you know
Like
what's
those
funny?
type of combos.
You know what's funny? All three of those guys have just leapfrogged Julio.
But then like
Entirely
Julio's the man
leapfrogged
still
Julio
too.
Rodriguez.
I know they've leapfrogged him so far this year, and Julio, wasn't that as good as he was last year either.
I'm taking all three of those guys over Julio, and I'm not losing sleep at all.
Oh man, that's so tough. And I think about it like this too. James Wood leads all 22-year-olds in F4. Pete Crow-Armstrong leads all 23-year-olds in F4. Corbin Carroll leads all 24-year-olds in F4. It's kind of cool.
It's
That's
great.
the conversation I wanted to have, so I'm glad we're having it. I just I don't know what PCA can become, which is why I'm so intrigued. Because right, the batted ball metrics, they're not elite, right? He's still hitting the ball hard, but there's some plate discipline issues, right? He doesn't walk, he strikes out a decent amount. What happens when he gets better in those categories? You know what I'm saying? Because he
Yeah,
has this great defense to fall back on. He has the top end power production. He has the speed to steal bases as soon as he gets on. I mean, a guy, he can steal 50 bases if he just walks at an average clip.
yes. So the counter is what if he never improves on that?
But he's
And
23, so why say anything?
I know,
Yeah.
but the counter to the counter to the counter is we've seen plenty of guys that have been stars or superstars over the course of their career that have not made a correction like that.
I know, but he's the third player ever to have 15 homers and 16 steals through his team's first
I
50.
understand getting reckless on him. I
I'm getting
totally
reckless.
understand.
Is it okay to get a little reckless? It's a
No,
Friday. It's casual
no.
Friday. We're having a little bit of fun.
We're
I'm getting
recording on a Thursday. I save my recklessness for Friday.
that's fair. I'm getting freaked out about him though. I'm just
Yeah.
saying my mind is starting to go to narratives that haven't been gone to with young
Hmm.
players like this unless they are the top end truly elite guys. And it just ties into the larger conversation about how the Cubs offense is just unstoppable. I mean,
Yes.
Kyle Tucker's the man. Seiya Suzuki is a dog. When I watch the Cubs offense, like most offenses, when you get to the 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, you're like, please get a hit. Like, please.
Yeah.
It'd be great if the eighth hitter got a double and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Nico Horner hits eighth. I mean,
I know.
Nico Horner's an all-star caliber player. This lineup is, I mean, Carson Kelly just sits right in the middle of there
It's
with an
amazing.
OPS still over 1,000.
This lineup's amazing. Like
It's
Shaw hitting
amazing.
ninth is just hilarious. There's intrigue one through
Hilarious.
nine.
So,
And Cade Horton settling into
yeah.
like he looks legit. Palencia, they found a closer in Daniel Palencia. It's cool for Cubs fans after their front office and coaching staff whiffed on Jeremiah Estrada,
Mm,
not whiffing on Palencia
I
because
forgot
those
about
guys
that.
were around for a long time.
Yeah.
And Estrada, like I think every Cubs fan would have told you, I really like this guy. Like just give him opportunities, and he didn't get enough opportunities. And here he is in San Diego. That guy's one of the most disgusting relievers in baseball. He is foul.
Yeah.
And Palencia throws fireballs now. So at least they found Palencia and they're appreciating him as a closer.
For one quick thing for fantasy baseball folks, I just picked up Daniel Palencia in one of my leagues. Go get him. Because
Okay.
Porter Hodge, I was reading about it. Hasn't made a lot, hasn't really done well in his recovery. So I think it's Palencia's job for at least, you know, until Hodge comes back, and he might just win out because his stuff is disgusting. I like Porter Hodge, but Palencia looks
It,
really dominant.
it's pretty easy to walk. Pretty easy to watch. Palencia came on for for a save opportunity in Miami, and he blew it on that Jesus Sanchez walk-off triple. I'm sure you remember that one,
Well,
that two-run
that's the
triple.
Fish Army. What can you do against the Fish Army?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do because I'm fished out of my mind.
You're fished out.
I'm fished out right now. But he doubled up. I think it was Derek Hill. It was a Derek Hill at bat. He doubled up on a slider, and like everybody in the building found themselves thinking, why? Why would you double up on that pitch? And after that, it felt very simple. He had a save opportunity a little bit later on in the series, and since then, it's just been like, I throw 102. Why not just do that all the time?
It's
And
gonna
and
work.
that's what he's doing. Like that's what
Yeah.
made Justin Martinez an elite reliever last year, and now he's got that 90-mile-an-hour knuckle split, whatever the hell you want to call
Whatever the
that, and
hell
it
these
just
guys are
works.
throwing. And that's why I'm so excited for everybody to listen to Walker because we break down a lot of different pitch mix. Like the different pitches these guys are throwing these days is they're inventing new ones every day. These guys are so good with just
Wa-
gripping the baseball and being able to
Watching
toss it.
watching Estrada like dig his middle and ring fingers like Spock from Star Trek into the ball to grip his chitter as he like comes set. It's like it's unbelievable. He's like grinding the ball in between his middle and ring finger, and they're like almost like splitting off of his index and pinky. It's bizarre to look at.
Did you see the pitch that Cade Horton threw the other day? That like
Yeah, 94 mile an
riding
hour cutter, and he was like, that was unintentional, but it was still nasty.
Ryan McMahon missed it by like a foot,
I know,
a
I know.
fastball.
And the catcher missed it too.
Yeah, those are my
So
favorite.
oh well. All right. I do want to have one other quick conversation before we hear from Walker Buehler. There was a heavy moment in San Diego from a Marlin. Ronnie Simon, rookie, played over 500 minor league games. I think over 550 minor league games. Signed a minor league free agent deal with the Marlins. Had his contract selected in Philadelphia a little bit earlier this year. In his 19th major league game, he commit 4 errors in the first 5 innings of the contest. Four. And it was really hard to watch. And one of them was officially changed. They gave Xander Bogaerts a single, but it was initially scored an error. So officially on the books, it's 3 errors in that game for Ronnie Simon, but in real time it was four, and I think Ronnie would tell you that it was four. When Clayton McCullough, the manager of the Marlins, came out to take the ball from Max Meyer, you could see Ronnie Simon getting emotional and you like going with his jersey to his eyes to wipe tears away, at least it seemed. And then at the end of the inning, Ronnie came jogging in and jogged right down the tunnel to the clubhouse. And Ronnie Simon was lifted from the game. And then there were shots of him in the dugout crying. And it was such a heavy thing to look at, like so heavy, because this guy has grinded for years. He's a Dominican Winter League superstar. He was the leadoff MVP a few years ago. And this guy never got a big league shot. And in game number 19, he feels like he lost the Marlins a game because he commits 4 errors. He had a horrible day, and he played a level of defense that was, I'm trying not to make an error as opposed to I'm going to make a play.
Yeah,
And that's a terrifying place to get to.
yeah.
But for me, like the beautiful human thing about all of this was the outpouring from major league stars. Like what Fernando Tatis Jr. said in his post-game media availability about Ronnie Simon, knowing that he's a superstar in the Dominican and saying like I empathize with that guy. Manny just made 3 errors in 1 inning last week. Manny Machado getting in touch with Ronnie Simon and saying, "Hey, I'm a future Hall of Famer and this has happened to me." He heard from so many major league superstars, from current players, from former players, from family, from friends, the outpouring of support for a guy like Ronnie Simon, who has grinded for this opportunity and then has a game like that, I thought was just a beautiful moment. And it took something ugly and it turned it into something really cool.
I agree. I think that was a really cool moment. And you said in the intro, comparing it to, what happened in Los Angeles. And the reason I wanted to tie that in together was I personally, right? I'm not speaking about anybody else. I had personally different reactions to both. When that was happening to Ronnie Simon, I was thinking to myself, damn it. Like that's got to be such a tough spot to be in. You grinded your way to get here and you're playing on your heels, right? Not on your toes. And you feel nervous and it all comes crashing down. Not only did you lose your team a game, but Ronny Simon is not a consistent guy in the lineup, right? You might lose additional playing time for a guy who's grinded that hard. And it's not exactly the same story, but in LA, Roki Sasaki, when he was first kind of getting acclimated to Major League Baseball, was struggling a little bit. And we saw tears. And the way that I reacted personally, the way Major League Baseball reacted personally, was very, very different. Right? Ronny Simon was getting all the love, and deservedly so. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I love that Tatis and Machado, even especially on the other team, guys were calling him. He deserves that. But I'm sure nobody did the same for Roki. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is I'm also guilty of this. I was feeling bad for Ronny Simon, and I was more sitting back chuckling, welcome to the big leagues, Roki. When in reality, like, that is the wrong reaction for me to have about Roki. Like, say whatever you want. You might be a Dodger hater. We have to remember these guys are human beings. And now I know
Yes.
that, you don't notice that. You just see them on the field. They're your rivals. Like, I understand if Giants and Padres and Diamondbacks fans and Rocky fans don't give a shit at all about Roki. I understand there's the rivalry there. But I think for all the rest of us, right, if your team isn't supposed to hate the Dodgers, you just do. I think remembering that moment and reminding yourself he's a 23-year-old, 22-year-old
Yeah.
who realistically could be in the minors, is
Yeah.
giving it his best shot. He's hearing boos. He feels like he's alone in a corner. I mean, imagine dealing with that at 22, 23 years old, basically by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, so that the Ronny Simon thing made me then go back on my choices about how I evaluated the Roki thing and be like, I was wrong there. That was a not the right reaction. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is I hope that that can resonate with some listeners of the show, just for future times, just reminding yourself that these guys are human beings.
I have no opinion on this. I don't really know if there's a place for like opinion, you know what I mean? But I acknowledge that there was a difference in reaction between Ronnie Simon and Roki Sasaki. And I'm not going to get into the human element of any of this because like upbringing matters, context matters. If
Of
you
course.
haven't read about Roki Sasaki's childhood, there was tragedy in his childhood and like leaving all of those ripples out of it in context there's buildup. Like
Yeah.
there has been pressure on Roki Sasaki after familial tragedy for him to perform and for him to achieve this, fulfill this prophecy, right, that he's had on the baseball field because it was his escape from a horrible situation because natural disaster took away his family structure from him. So, like, if you have that, how can you not feel terrible for that guy when he's not fulfilling this prophecy concretely?
Yeah.
I also really don't think it's a Dodger thing. Like I don't think there's this disparity between the Marlins and the Dodgers that makes people sympathize with the Marlin and not sympathize with the
No,
Dodgers.
I don't think it has actually anything to do with Marlins versus Dodgers.
To
I
be
think it's
honest,
just Dodgers.
I sure I think it's entirely because of roster situation where these guys stand in the grand scheme of the big leagues. That is why there was a different reaction. Ronnie Simon was never promised a major league opportunity. There was a chance this never came for him. He was a non-roster invite to spring training. He was a minor league free agent signing. He had to have his contract selected. He was not on the 40 man. Roki Sasaki is the second biggest international free agent signing ever behind Shohei Ohtani. You know Roki is going to be in the major leagues for the next 15 years. Ronnie Simon could be out of the big leagues tomorrow, and he may never get back.
Yeah.
That right there is the situation, and I think a lot of people subconsciously acknowledge that, or not even subconsciously, consciously acknowledge that. And that's why they may have had different reactions between Ronnie Simon and Roki Sasaki.
I think you're right. I guess my only counter to that would be I wonder what the reaction would be if Ronnie Simon was on the Dodgers or if Ronnie Simon was on the Yankees. I don't know if the reaction would have been as great because there's just a lot of hate coming towards the direction of both of those teams. They're just very polarizing. They spend all the money. They've been the most successful. I mean, the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But you know what I mean. Those are the
Yeah.
two premier franchises in baseball. And I think to myself like this, right? Someone in the similar shoes of a Roki Sasaki. Not the same backstory, all that kind of stuff, but a similar amount of hype. Jackson Jobe with the Tigers. Like if Jackson Jobe was on the dugout, tears coming down his face after a tough start, I think more people rally behind him than they would Roki. And that's kind of what I mean here. And that was what ties into my larger point of take a step back from, hating on the Dodgers or any of that sort of stuff to realize that these guys are all human while definitely acknowledging you're correct on the difference between a Roki and a Ronny Simon. They're completely different situations.
Yeah.
I'm more saying that I think the Dodger aspect of it, or potentially the Yankee aspect of it,
Yeah.
if it were to happen there, I think is much more polarizing, which makes it much more tough on these guys. But at the end of the day, Roki did pick the Dodgers, but I still think it's just a tough spot for these young guys.
At the end of the day, these are human beings
Yeah,
that are dealing with serious on-field adversity,
yeah,
and I felt very bad for both of them. And I'm glad that there was an outpouring of support for Ronnie Simon because he could use that in that moment. And it's so cool to hear that a Tatis and a Machado and other major league stars reached out to a guy like Ronnie Simon. So,
absolutely.
all right, we're gonna flip gears a little bit emotionally and chat with our guy Walker Buehler here in a moment. Before that, quick break. Walker Buehler not in Boston right now, in Lexington, in front of the Bourbon Wall, which is where we've grown to love Walker Buehler. But we've got a lot to talk about. You got into a good conversation, good dialogue, I would say, a couple weeks ago that I want to ask you about. Also, you've been throwing the heck out of it, man, and you've got a young, exciting team around you. What's going on? So you're Milwaukee to Lexington right now, and then to Atlanta. How's being a Boston man? Is it different? Has it changed your life?
Yeah, it's different, obviously, East Coast, West Coast, but at the end of the day, it's the same league and kind of the same goals. So we've been enjoying it. Obviously, past week or 10 days or whatever have been a little tough for us, and Alex getting hurt is no good. But this young group and getting Marcelo up there and hopefully Roman soon, and kind of see where we're at.
Real quick, are you Meyer's chauffeur right now? Well, obviously, everybody's heard about the car key thing. He lost him 3 weeks ago, and he just has
Yeah.
no idea where his car keys are.
No, they said he found it. I don't know. Yeah, it's only like an hour drive, but I guess he had to Uber it to the stadium. But no, he's a good kid, super talented, super polished game in terms of kind of, not a ton of like the young kid mistakes or hasn't seemed overwhelmed yet. So yeah, we're excited about him.
You guys have so many young guys right now. Narvaez, Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony's going to come up. Of course, Christian Campbell. Do you guys have rookie dinners? Like you've heard a lot about how rookie dinners just get crushed. Is that something that you guys are doing?
No, we don't make them pay. We kind of we take care of them a little bit. Obviously the coffee thing in spring training with those young guys, and they handled it super well and made a big thing of it, kind of in the right way. So no, we don't haze them too bad. I got they got to carry a cooler on the plane and stuff like that, but
Sure.
nothing too serious.
Got you. So it's all like procedural. Hey, man, you have made what, 8 starts in a Red Sox uniform at this point?
I think so.
It's been fun to watch, dude. I mean, 5 innings, a two-run ball last time out. Obviously, you were shoving against New York, and I've got questions about that one. But what's clicking for you right now? Because obviously, when we were talking to you last year, you were trying to kind of find the perfect arsenal for this iteration of Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
How has that been refined over the last 8 starts this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first two were kind of dog shit, and after that, I think I thrown the ball pretty well. I've had a couple games that I felt like I really kind of owned is not the right word, or whatever, but I felt very competitive in and felt like I kind of dictated a lot was going on. But my bad ones this year just haven't been as bad, and my good ones have been better than last year. And when you're able to do those two things, sometimes it works out a little bit better for you. But no, I mean, listen, I think Andrew Bailey was a huge part of why I wanted to go play in Boston. And, I think the kind of base or the way that I've always pitched in terms of being very fastball heavy and all of that, I think has led to these kind of smaller changes with the three different fastballs and kind of this developing little slider. Some work on the changeup, everything I think is just a tick better than it was last year. And, yeah, we've been tinkering around and having fun with it, but at the same time, trying to go and perform, and that's kind of how I like to operate. So things have been pretty good.
I got two follow-up questions on that pitch mix. Can you talk to me about your sinker? I think when you paint it glove side, it might be your best pitch. I think it's just nasty, at least aesthetically, watching it on
Yep.
TV. And you've used it in the past, but it was predominantly to right-handed bats. And now you're
Mhm.
throwing it to both sides of the plate with confidence, and opponents are only hitting 115 against it.
Yeah, I mean, I think largely when I first came up, it was something just to make the ball go to the right, and I would throw it a lot to lefties and occasionally to right. That some guys you just have to get the ball in, and where I was on the mound for most of my career, I was on as far over to the left as you could get. Maybe only had like my toe on there. So to get the ball into right, there's just a lot of room that they can get it. Right, the angle is not super beneficial for us, and so having the little dart runner, I think was something that I always did, and kind of got away from it versus left for a few years, and now we're kind of throwing that front hip one every once in a while, and kind of the down away one trying to get the ball in the ground. But if you're not punching 10 or 11 guys per nine or one an inning, you know what I mean? You have to kind of try and find ways to get guys out or get two outs at once. And I think that pitch has been big for me in terms of that, as well as kind of moving so that I can have a little bit more margin on the breaking balls. And yeah, this three fastball thing, I think you're kind of seeing it all over baseball now, right? There's a bunch of these young starting pitchers that are coming up with fastball cutter, sinker, and
Yeah.
Lance Lynn, I feel like is the first guy that we kind of watched do that really consistently, at least in kind of modern baseball. But he was doing it largely without a breaking ball, and you get the young guys, and I'm in that group, I guess, as well. Compared to some of them that were doing this, but um, the development of the breaking ball is so much easier now with TrackMan and all of this stuff. So these kids are coming up with six pitches the day they get there, and yeah, it's a fun time to be a fan of pitching.
I literally had this conversation last week. Sorry, Peter. I had
Yeah.
this conversation last week. Bartolo Colon walked so Lance Lynn could run so everybody else could fly. Like it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of different iterations of a fastball, and they're moving a bunch of different ways and
Yep.
gets you off the barrel enough.
Yep. Yeah. Kyle Gibson is a guy I think of when we think of that. Zach Wheeler has been largely doing that for a long time.
Hmm.
I think it's a little bit more of the traditional, like the sinker that actually sinks, and the kind of cutter for him is more of a traditional slider. But he's been doing at least the two different fastballs and kind of getting guys that way for a long time. And we've talked on here a lot about pitching and playoff pitching and stuff like that. And Zach has been as good as there is for a few years now, and especially in the playoffs. And I think largely that kind of jumpy, runny two-seamer at 98, I think can kind of reset anybody in any of that.
And speaking about all these different pitches, I mean, you throw seven of them. And
No,
it's not one of these mixes where it's like four dominant and then you have two or maybe three other pitches that you throw, as taste breakers like 2-3% of the time. Your
yeah,
least thrown pitch, at least according to Baseball Savant, is your slider at 6.2%. So it's really
yeah,
balanced. And I've noticed that Brian Bayo is throwing six pitches now. Richard
yeah,
Fitz seemed to have added more pitches. Crochet when he was with the White Sox was mostly fastball cutter, but is now
yeah.
pretty balanced with five different pitches. So I'm just curious, can you speak to the Red Sox philosophy on pitching and why it seems that your staff has so many different pitches at their disposal and it seems like it's really coming to the forefront, especially this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone kind of knows that in Boston we're going to throw a lot of breaking balls or non-four-seam fastballs or non-dominant fastballs, so the sinker guys, whatever. And so we're going to throw a lot of breaking balls, and I think part of that process is kind of understanding that okay, now people are going to shift and try and sit and hit those, and so if you can find something that mirrors that, and you're just playing these like what context am I giving hitters is most of what they're seeing a spinning ball, then can I spin it and make it go the other way, or does it look like this? Is it a two-seamer? Can I make a slider look like that? And all of that kind of stuff. So I think you just see guys kind of learning how to pitch with different contexts. And as I said, I think given TrackMan and kind of really Edgertronic, I think is probably the biggest kind of advancement, just because we can really see how and why a certain guy can do something, and then it's obviously a lot easier to recreate that. So yeah, I think it's a copycat league, and something that I think most guys that are talented enough to pitch in the big leagues and have kind of that arm talent can figure out how to make the ball do a lot of different things.
How often will the Boston Red Sox have the edge cam set up? Like, because I know in spring training, typically they'll have Edgertronic cameras set up,
Mhm.
all 30 organizations, really. And I know that's how Skeens figured out the splinker. Like, he felt something come off the fingertips weird or off the inside of his index weird, and then looked at the Edgertronic cameras and said, I can probably repeat this. Do you
Yeah.
throw every bullpen with the edge cam, or is it like once every few?
Yeah, I mean, we'll throw them. I don't look I'm not going to look at every throw of every pen and kind
Right.
of do all that. I think, Bailey and I were joking around. I think my clusters in terms of the way the ball that I throw move are pretty tight. And so, my hand generally gets to about the same place every time. And so, what I throw is what I throw. I think especially given the elbow history, there's always a little bit of trepidation of like trying to do things that your body's not used to. And but at the same time, like you've also got to, be good and try and go get guys on. I've always said I'd rather be hurt and good than bad and healthy. So I think it's this kind of balancing act between the two.
Can I just point out real quick? Walker's really good at this because he's used bullshit and trepidation in the same 9 minute stretch on a podcast. Like, really good, dynamic.
Speaking about those differences in training and those differences in words, two different pitchers, completely different workouts entirely to get to a similar spot of dominance. I remember speaking to you about Yoshinobu Yamamoto's workout routine with the
Mhm.
Dodgers, and then rolled his Chapman's workout routine with the Red Sox, a
Yeah.
37-year-old throwing 103 miles an hour. Right, I've heard so much stuff about Chapman's weightlifting and how he's squatting, 500 pounds, and he's just a freak specimen. And
Yeah.
he's 6'5" with crazy limbs. And then Yamamoto's 5'9". He's got little limbs, but he's still throwing 97.
Yeah.
Completely different pitchers, but they get to the same spot in completely different ways. Can you kind of compare the two, seeing both of them in action?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the kind of routines are as drastically different as you could get, but at the end of the day, I think largely pitching is about getting your hand on time with your front foot and getting into the front foot with some sort of force and being able to deliver that force, right? And so, I saw this interesting thing about sprinters and about pitchers and one other sport, I forget what they were talking about, but that strength is like a X percentage thing, and it's a lot lower than you would think. I think it was talking about coordination being probably the biggest, you know, sign indicator of success. And obviously, Yamamoto and Chapman are both extremely coordinated, but got their different ways. And I also think it shows you kind of start a reliever what that can look like. I know Aroldis lifts like that and loves it and likes feeling tight and strong and all of these things. And some guys just don't do that. So it's definitely not a one size fits all thing, but at his age and kind of the career he's had to watch what he does on a daily basis has been, um, it's incredible. I've played with Clayton for so long and seen, they're spending about the same amount of time in there, but the output in terms of, pounds moved in a day is obscene. It's all over the place. And it's to the point where I think a lot of times on the road he lifts at a kind of public gym and then comes to the field because there's just, I guess, not enough time in the day at the field for him.
Quick follow up: where are you on the Yamamoto to Chapman scale? Because I think they're both on the
Um,
opposite ends.
I like to lift very minimally, but very heavy. So when I do lift, I try and lift very heavy, but you're not going to see many sets of 8 out of me.
It's okay. Um, Last time that I got to talk to you, you were excited to see Crochet and work with Crochet.
Mm.
12 starts later at a 2.04 ERA. Where are you
Yep.
at on being Garrett Crochet's teammate?
I think first off, Garrett is an incredible teammate, and I think he was the perfect guy for our team to sign that deal and trade. And obviously, I was kind of a different scenario in terms of signing a 1 year, but being a little bit older, I think for the staff that was there and the people that are there, I don't think they could have found a better person to kind of lead that group. And I'm very happy to kind of try and help him along the way and help guys. But I think he's kind of the heart and soul of our staff, and I think that's great. So From that side of it, he's been fantastic. I think the crazy thing about him is he's had some, obviously some really, really impressive games, but like I don't think he's really even hit like the stride of I can make this look really easy yet. Like he just does some things and it seems like he can almost decide when he wants to just punch guys out and
Yeah.
it's been super fun to watch, but I think there's more in there somehow, some way.
He made that White Sox start look pretty easy.
Yes.
Yeah, he has those, and he had the one in Baltimore, and he ran through Kansas. He threw really well against Kansas City, but even this one against Milwaukee, it's like, the first pitch of the game's a homer, and then it's like 6 or 7 grindy innings to give up one more, and it's 7-on-2. But like, it just feels like he could have gone 8-on-0, like every time he throws, and so it's kind of that like he's been so good that it's sometimes you don't remember how good he's actually been, kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Speaking of your other teammates, can you shed some light on Carlos Narvaez? Because he's one of these rookies, and there have been a lot of them that have came up for you guys. But, statistically, he has been the best because he's coming off an
Yep.
incredible month of May. We were just talking about him on the last episode, and he's caught a lot of your starts.
Yep.
Just what have you seen from him? Defensive acumen behind the plate, and he's also just raking.
Yeah, I mean, he caught me a lot in spring, and we kind of had some conversations about, typically that one of the further starters on the board gets the backup guy, and at that point, that's what we were talking about, and I really enjoyed throwing to him and kind of made that known. Obviously, we had some other super talented guys and veteran guys in camp with us, but I think the big thing with Narvi, similar to Marcelo, there's just like this heartbeat to him that doesn't get going too fast, and he's learning and thinking, and with the pitch calling stuff, the young guys a lot of times will either have their own ideas and they're wrong, or are just going to do whatever you tell them, right? And he has this good mix of the two, where he's always thinking and trying to learn for himself, but kind of understands how to operate within whatever confines we're giving him. So he's been super impressive, and obviously getting the back going has been a bonus, and something we really needed. Obviously, Connor was a big part of the team here the past couple of years, and kind of the unfortunate hand break thing that we see too often. And his was on a swing, not on getting hit, but kind of one and the same. And so once we get both those guys rolling at the same time, it'll be pretty fun to watch the catching core for the Boston Red Sox.
May 20th, did you and Mike Estabrook find a good Italian joint in the back bay and have some pasta, like break some bread over that? So obviously we got like the lip reading. It went mega viral. It was one of the viral moments of Major League Baseball so far. Where did it kind of click for you that this was just to a level where you had to say something?
Um, that one spiraled, man. Sometimes it just happens. You probably come off a lot ruder than you think, and then he responds, and it's probably ruder than he thinks, and it just kind of goes and whatever. And uh, yeah, one of those things that you kind of don't even remember what each other said to each other. You just know how it ended, and
Yeah.
obviously not my kind of most shining moment in the big leagues, but um, at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that I was disappointed in is kind of the position that it put our bullpen in, and kind of those things and the trickle down of that. But
But they gave you 6 2/3 shutout after that,
Yeah.
man. And I saw your
yeah, but it's
tweet.
the next day, and those guys, grind, and they're so important, and they work so hard, and they don't get kind of the recognition for that kind of stuff. And so it actually got worse for me kind of as the days went on, the more and more that I saw it, that I felt worse about it. But in terms of my interaction in that game, I don't feel bad about it really. I hope he's not super insulted. I think largely everyone kind of understands that we're competitive and
100%.
all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, everybody that threw in that game, I got a bottle of tequila and tried to, say that's on me. But hopefully we don't run into that one again.
Can I say pretty badass look with the Red Sox turtleneck underneath
I
the
like that
jersey? It's
turtleneck.
kind of like old school throwback. When did you make that fashion choice?
Jaren wore it one of the early games, like, oh, I gotta get one of those. But yeah, I ordered it off Etsy. We don't have them. They don't make them for us anymore. So that used to be kind of a standard thing that Major League
Right.
Baseball would make, and they don't do that anymore. So I had to go throwback, and the one I got is definitely very old. I think I might need to get another one, but um,
That interaction was better because you were wearing that turtleneck, and it
I
looks
think so. It was the first game with tight pants back on too, which was kind of an interesting one.
Maybe you're
Um,
too constricted. Maybe that's, bringing it out of you. You just
yeah, and then Bernardino, who threw in that game, commented and said that it was because we were playing Kid Rock before the game, which um, nothing's a non-factor. So
yep.
I think it all kind of works together.
I mean, to be fair to you, it was right down the middle. I mean, it was. What? Watch the
Hands up.
tape. And I bet you might not have had the same reaction. Lindor also kind of leaned into the pitch before that.
Yeah, that was the other thing. The funniest thing about that is the idea that Lindor and I have some beef. Like, there's very few people that are kind of universally respected like Lindor is, and so I had no problem with him. And even against the Mets last year in the playoffs, I was yelling at JD, not at
Lindor.
Lindor.
Yep.
Walked JD on like four pitches that he never takes, and he took all of them. And I told him to swing the bat, kind of joking with him. But I've seen the video. It looks like I'm very upset, but was just very much in kind of in it in the playoffs. So me and Lindor are fine. Me and JD are fine. Me and that umpire will be fine one day.
Yeah.
So everything's okay.
When you watch back these reactions, like on tape, because I have to imagine when you're in the moment, you're completely like blacked out. Like it's
Hmm.
just pure competition, anger, right? You feel that you're in the right. The umpire feels that he's in the right. And then you depart and then you have a little bit of a cool down moment. What
Hmm.
is like your reactions to watching these moments? And it might not be just this moment, but anything in the rest of your career.
Yeah, sometimes you get like a little more embarrassed than you think, or it didn't look like you think it would have looked, or whatever. I think you get that more with like the celebration stuff. You make a big pitch and like scream. I think those are more the ones that people don't really understand that. Everybody thinks that like we plan these somehow, and some guys do. They have their whole routine or whatever, but like almost every big pitch I've ever made, like the picture ends up looking the same. It's like if the throw's right and it works, and then you scream, like I'm always facing center field screaming, like it just kind of happens that way. Situations like we had this ejection thing, I think is um, a lot different and something that you kind of can think back on. And obviously that's where it kind of spiraled on me. I wish I would have handled it a little bit different. Um, but at the end of the day, like I still would rather err on the side of aggressive or standing up for myself or however you want to put it, than kind of sit there and not do that. So yeah, obviously I wish I wouldn't have gotten tossed, but um,
We knew you were going to be a quick fan favorite in Boston, and
Yeah.
that is clearly the case. Walk, I've got one more question for you, and it's a Scooble question because we just saw him rip off a Maddox
yeah,
13 punch outs. Last pitch was 102.6.
yeah, pretty good one.
Pretty good.
Pretty
How
good.
many human beings on earth can get to that mode where I mean, it was so efficient, like 13 punch outs in
Yeah,
94 pitches. He gets 27 outs, and the last pitch was his hardest of his career.
yeah.
What level mentally do you have to get to execute a game like that?
I don't know. That's not something I've ever really been a part of. I think I will tell you that the best games I've had in my career from high school through college through whatever, I largely don't remember very many pitches of. I think there is something of this very, coaches our whole life will tell you it's one pitch at a time and blah, blah, blah. But like when you get to a level where you're confident enough and facing those kind of guys, it really does get like that. And I think you just don't really remember a ton of it. At least that's how it's worked for me. And yeah, we talked about like the NBA, the guys are shooting like, oh, he's unconscious. Like that kind of really is what happens, I feel like, especially when it's high adrenaline games or kind of big games for me, or seemingly the ones that I don't remember it much of. I think the Red Sox World Series game in 18, I probably remember like six or eight pitches, and largely because I watched the game again. So yeah, he's in a special place and obviously super talented. I also just physically it's insane how easy he's making throwing as hard as he is as a starting pitcher, how easy he's making it look physically. And Um, yeah, I haven't met him. He must just be ridiculous strong and big and yeah, it's fun to watch and obviously I think with him and Skeens and some of these other young guys are pitching young pitching probably hasn't been kind of in this place in a long time, but even when you were asking that question, I think I was thinking of like who could do that, and I think five or six of them are over 30 years old that I think of, right? And so
Yeah.
it's kind of a really cool spot and a cool place in our sport that we have so many guys that are still doing it at a high level and younger guys that we think can do it at a really high level.
Crochet can probably do it too. I mean, he had some starts and he's 99. But the thing is with
Yeah.
Crochet, when he like sometimes throws it in, it almost acts like he's relaxed. Like Scoot
Yeah.
Wheeler's looking intense with you as well. There's an intensity with Crochet. It almost looks like he's just
Playing
walking
catch.
upright and just playing catch with
Yeah,
99.
he's I mean
Ridiculous.
he's Garrett definitely can turn it on and has that thing to him. I think, I think there's something to it with him also, like he just hasn't thrown that many innings. Like
Yeah.
I think he's probably around 300 innings now in the big leagues. And so even in college, he wasn't this big, like 120 inning Friday night starter for 3 years that we think of, right? And so I think largely for him, he kind of picks his leg up and throws still, and there's not this kind of built up angst that can happen over the span of your career when you've thrown so many pitches or given up so many homers or so many. Even Clayton, like you look at like the number of home runs or hits or whatever that he's given up in his career, it's got to be a ton because he's thrown so many innings, right? It's not on a per inning level, it's unbelievable, but there are these little like scars isn't the right word, but I've missed heater in probably 3 times or 4 times as many times as he has in his life. Like there's just this ease to the way he's going about it, but I think on the upside of it, he doesn't pitch like he's only thrown 300 innings in the past couple of years. And so, um, but yeah, I think he's in kind of that sweet spot mentally, and obviously, Scooball is too right now. And yeah, we've got some lefties running around.
My
We
last,
getting yeah.
I was just going to ask one last question from me. On April 15th, you threw against the Rays. You pitched
Mhm.
well. Team won 7-4. I'm just curious, what's it like pitching in that minor league ballpark? Because both the A's and the Rays have had trouble winning at home. It's got to be a completely different atmosphere. It's got to feel weird.
Yeah, I mean they're both bandboxes too, and so it kind of changes that. I said after the game, I don't think anyone really picked it up, but I think there's some intricacies about playing in the big leagues that at a spring training facility is a problem, right? And in Sacramento, they're dealing with the where the clubhouse is and all that stuff. I think that was pretty well known that that was going to be an issue. And
Yeah.
in Tampa, I think the mounds have a real discrepancy in the heights of them. I think the mounds there are gigantic. I don't know why or how or whatever, but
Mm.
um, the thing I went on the deal with started popping up right after that start, and big mounds kind of can create stuff like that, and it just creates a lot more tension and torque. So, um, I think around the league that's known like certain mounds are bigger and smaller and whatever, but I've personally never thrown on a mound the size of that one in Tampa now, and especially the bullpen one. So, I don't know if that's something that's inspected or it just kind of is what it is because it's a big league ballpark. But I would certainly think if they built a new ballpark, that would be kind of checked beforehand, right? And that's essentially what we're dealing with. But yeah, it's definitely a different kind of feeling in those places, and
Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't feel exactly like what it would feel like pitching in Yankee Stadium, obviously.
One quick follow up. What's the best mound in baseball? Who's got the best mound?
If you ask around, there's probably like five that you'll get. Some guys like Milwaukee, LA is in there. I really like pitching in Arizona. Old Tampa guys used to say a lot. It's been a long time, but you'd think Seattle, just with kind of the pitching
Yeah.
prowess that they have, would take pretty good care of it. There aren't many bad ones. I think there are a few that are really low. Cincinnati's a little bit low, I think, and flat. But it kind of really boils down, honestly, for me, with what kind of turfs they use. Some of them are sandier now, and some of them are kind of the old school quick dry that we're used to, and so kind of personal preference on that kind of stuff.
See, I think that's crazy. Like, I understand the parks being completely different, right?
Yep.
Yankee Stadium is a short porch, Fenway has the green monster, all of these different quirks. I think it's cool. The fact that the mounds are different, I mean, you
Yep.
got to adjust to each ballpark. I feel like that's something Major League Baseball has to fix,
No, I
right?
mean at some point there has to be home field advantage in some way, right? And there are away parks that I like better than pitching at the home parks I've played at, right? The optics or the mound or whatever. And so you've got to kind of adjust to it and that kind of is all part of it.
Yep. Great ballpark in Atlanta. And are we getting Bueller Schwellenbach on Saturday? Is that right?
I
Mm,
think so.
How about that,
it's
man?
gonna be a
Go
fun battle.
shove.
But all right, fellas, I gotta run. I'll talk to y'all later.
Appreciate
Appreciate
you,
it.
dude.
All right, see you.
Great to hear from Mr. Bueller, and let us wrap with a weekend preview. You ready?
One thing before we start the weekend preview, remember we were talking about his turtleneck, and he does look
Yes.
kind of badass. And I have a tough time because it's like I'm rooting for Walker so hard every fifth start because he's our guy.
Yeah.
But then it also just like makes me think about Kurt Schilling, which pisses me off because Kurt Schilling growing up, I hated Kurt
He's also
Schilling.
not a great person.
No, I know, but regardless of that, like on the field, I mean,
I think the
Manning,
retro look is
Ortiz,
good. I
like Kurt
think he's
Schilling
great.
just, I remember Trot Nixon, that piece of shit. Like all these guys just ruined my childhood. So, so to see him then, it's like I'm rooting so heavily for him, but it's like you look like my childhood enemy. It's a tough game I'm playing right now with just me
Dude,
emotionally, which nobody cares about. But I thought maybe one person might find it
I
interesting.
think I think Walker objectively looks sick in
Yeah, he
that
does.
turtleneck, that
And it
heavy turtleneck.
sucks. It sucks.
It's dope.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk today. 120 at Wrigley, the perfect Friday afternoon. Colin Ray gets the ball against the Reds. Andrew Abbott, who's 4-0 with a 1.77 ERA. If it was another starter in the Red rotation, I'd be Cubs right away. Where are you?
I know. It's hard for me to go away from the Abbott train, but you know, Andrew Abbott is the king of being able to get out of nasty situations. And what I mean by that is, I think Arm was mentioning it yesterday. I think his OPS with runners on base is like in the 400s. It's absurd. But the Cubs have so many guys in the lineup that can hit with runners in scoring position, and they've been doing it all year. I'll go with the Cubs, but I'm not sold on it. I'm not
Cool.
sold on it at all.
Cool. 8:05 Eastern tonight. Cardinals Rangers in Arlington. Matthew Liberatore against Jack Leiter.
Ooh. I think the Rangers are pretty crappy against lefties, so I will go with the Cardinals.
Cool. Tigers Royals in Kansas City at 8:10 tonight. Casey Mize 6-1 with a 2.45 ERA against Seth Lugo and his 3.02 ERA.
Seth Lugo's returned back from the IL. I'm gonna go with Mize. Dude, Mize, like your narrative. I mean, he
We're
is
up right now. Gore and Mize, we up.
Mize is we'll save it for another time. We'll make it into a much larger conversation. I think he's the man.
We up.
Like he might be the second best guy in the rotation, even better than Flaherty. And that's not because I think less of Flaherty. I just think so highly of Casey Mize, so I'll go with the Tigers.
8:10 tonight Eastern. Rays Astros in Houston. Ryan Pepio against Framber Valdez
Ooh, in Houston,
in Houston.
hard for me to go against Framber in Houston. I'll go with the Astros.
Nats D-backs in Arizona. Jake Irvin in his 3.42 ERA against Merrill Kelly in his 3.52 ERA.
Sneaky good game because the D-backs are playing like crap right now.
And I like watching Irvin pitch, man.
He's been good, and when he gets on these heaters, like he strings
That it's
together a
all about
lot
the
of good starts in a
curveball.
row.
Like when he's on the heater, it's the curveball that just looks right, and I'm like, wow, that's a thing of beauty.
And I think that Merrill Kelly is either going to dominate the Nationals or get crushed because Merrill Kelly, I have the vision of against a young offense like Washington, him just kind of picking them apart, keeping the ball right off the barrel. But then at the same time, if he doesn't have it, it's a really easy matchup for the Nationals.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Nationals upset this one. The Diamondbacks are not playing good baseball.
Okay. Yankees Dodgers late game
Oh,
10:10 Eastern. Max Fried 7-0 in his 1.29 ERA against Tony Gonsolin.
The Dodgers are about to get annihilated. Max Fried is going to destroy them. Tony Gonsolin at Yankee Stadium. Pfft. Yeah, Yankees are going to crush them. Might be the first forfeit in MLB history.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me throw you this one. You got Brewers Phillies on Saturday at 4:05 Eastern. Chad Patrick and his 2.97 ERA against Jesus Luzardo, who's
In
5-0
Philly?
and a 2.15 in Philly.
Welcome to the big leagues, Chad Patrick. Phillies win.
Really? Okay. Sonny Gray in St. Louis against Patrick Corbin and the Rangers in Arlington, 4:05 on Saturday.
Ooh. Cardinals. I just I can't buy the Rangers. Cardinals.
Okay. Red Sox Braves in Atlanta, 4:10 Eastern. Walker Buehler against Spencer Schwellenbach.
Bueller. Give it the Sox.
Cool. Tigers Royals in Kansas City, 4:10 on Saturday. Tarek Skubal against Michael Wacha.
Tiger. I mean, what? We gonna go against Scooble ever?
Can't.
No, Scooble.
Can't.
Tigers.
Twins Mariners, 7:15 on Fox on Saturday. Bailey Ober and his 3.41 ERA against Luis Castillo and his 3.32 ERA
In Seattle,
in Seattle.
it's a good game. I think Cal Raleigh's gonna hit one of those Bailey Ober changeups to the frickin' moon. He's gonna hang one right over the plate. And Cal Raleigh hits it 500 feet. Give me the Mariners.
And then Sunday to wrap up the weekend, 1:05 Eastern, the early game on Roku, Cardinals Rangers in Arlington. Eric Fetty against Jacob deGrom.
That's the one that the Rangers get. I mean, it's kind of obvious DeGrom's on the mound, but Fetty's been looking good lately, but the Rangers to avoid the sweep with DeGrom on the mound, that's the way I'm kind of viewing the series. I think the Rangers get that one done.
1:35 in Atlanta, Red Sox Braves, Garrett Crochet against Spencer Strider.
Ooh. Oh. I, I think Crochet outpitches Strider because I'm a little bit worried about Strider right now. He pitched well against, but that's the thing. It's like I don't know what to think about Strider because he was like 95 to 96 against the Phillies and like struck out 8, like looked
Yeah.
good. But it wasn't Strider. So what if we do get Strider in this one? What if his arm is 97 to 98? Yeesh. I'm gonna go I'll go with the Braves. That's a great game. Great game.
Great game. 1:40 in New York, Rockies Mets, Clay Holmes against Carson Palmquist. Give me an alternate spread.
Yeah, I mean, Clay Holmes could throw left-handed and they'd win. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's
Fun one, and I'm not going to ask you to give me a winner because I'm not attaching myself to this, but I'm really excited for Sunday afternoon in Miami. That's Ryan Weathers against Hayden Birdsong.
Birdsongs look good, but
Weathers has looked great.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You know what? I'm a fish fam guy. Give
Fish
me the
fam.
fish. Give me the Marlins. Weathers continues.
2:10 in Houston on Sunday afternoon. Hunter Brown against Taj Bradley. Rays Astros.
In Minute Maid again?
In
Obviously,
Minute Maid.
'cause, yeah, I'm gonna go
I
with the
love
Astros.
watching Hunter Brown right now,
Yeah,
man.
he's just too damn good. He's been arguably the best pitcher in baseball for the last year. I mean, if you include the second half of last season and into this season. And
Yeah.
Bradley looks either so good or he gets clipped a little bit. In Minute Maid on the road like that, short left field, I think he gives up a couple of bombs, and that's what gives the Astros the win. Because I mean, the Rays can score against righties for sure, but it's just like Hunter Brown, good luck.
Yeah. And then the only other one, Sunday Night Baseball, Dodgers Yankees. Yamamoto against Ryan Yarbrough.
Yamaha? Ryan Yarbrough is about to annihilate the Dodgers again. Ever seen 86 with this new changeup? Yankees 20. It's going to be a football score. Yankees win by a few touchdowns.
Cool. All right. That's our show.
That's our show. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Thank you to Walker Buehler coming back on the pod. Good to see him again. And if you enjoyed, the best way to support, rate and review on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, and leave a written review if you would be so kind as to continue to comment on YouTube, like, subscribe, and if you want to join the best baseball group chat in the world, we got a special promo coming up on June 1st. So be sure to follow our socials to see that link. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. We will see you on Monday for the weekend roundup. And with that, thank you, everybody.